This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Ever wondered how you could turn your side hustle into a full-time gig and spend more time together?
Hi, I'm Vikki, a #1 best-selling author.
And I'm John, a retired Los Angeles police officer. Welcome to Dig the Well, where we help couples navigate the world of business.
We've been married for 35 years, and because we built a successful side business, John retired 9 years earlier than he originally planned from the Los Angeles Police Department after 25 years on the job. Now we spend more time together, and we want to help couples like you do the same.
Join us as we help you overcome common obstacles, and we show you how to make extra income without sacrificing family time.
Ready to dig deep and build your well? Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Dig the Well podcast. So excited to be here today with you all, and we have a special guest, and actually, John's not here with me today. I wanted all this special girl time fun with my new girlfriend that I met networking. And we are part of a women's networking group, and we hit it off famously right away. I don't know if it's possibly I am half German and I am half Danish, so that could have something to do with it. But you're going to find out. This special woman has an incredible gift, and we're going to talk about her business. And who is it? It is Žana DeVine, and she has her own business that is called Žana DeVine Hospitality. And I don't know if you're like me, but if you're listening to this in America, you're going to really love this. If you're listening to this in Europe, I know you're going to get a lot out of it as well, or anywhere else on the planet as well. But in America, what my husband and I have talked about so many times as business owners, maybe we look at things differently. We are entrepreneurs, but when we go to dinner and we are being served and we have to wave our arms or try to track down the server, we are shocked at how terrible that is, to be honest, from a business standpoint. Like most of the time we talk about it, and we might really end up liking the server, but the lack of attention to detail, the lack of noticing that we might want some water or we're ready to order and things like that makes us not want to go back to that restaurant. And it's funny, Žana and I, as we were getting to know each other, Žana shared what she does with me. And I said, oh my gosh, you need to be on our podcast because there's such a need in the United States for better hospitality and on all levels. So Žana, I'm doing a lot of talking, but I want to welcome you to the conversation. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be with us.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Vikki. And you're so right. You know, when we first met at that amazing networking organization that we're both part of, it almost felt like we had like a different type of connection with each other. It's almost like a soul sisterhood kind of energy vibe. Because it was from the beginning, it felt like it was very authentic and very real. And, we kind of immediately clicked on so many levels. And then we have private conversations about deeper topics. And that's really when I was like, oh my God, who is this lady? Like, did I have a sister that I had no idea about, Or like,
I know.
So,
totally.
Yeah. So I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so grateful that you invited me, and thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey on your amazing podcast. I'm really appreciative.
Thank you. And I'm just excited to bring what you have to share to our listeners. And there might be lots of people in the hospitality industry listening. And I hope you're going to get a lot out of what Žana is about to share. But also, you may want to hire her or refer her to a restaurant that you know, a hotel that you know that really could use some polishing up on their customer service and their hospitality hospitality. So, Jana, tell us, I was reading your bio and I was blown away by all that you've done and accomplished on this planet already. And you're so young. But tell us a little bit about you and what got you started in the hospitality industry.
Yeah, so I honestly was born into it. It was my dad was a chef. My mom ran a small, housekeeping team at a medium-sized hotel. And so, from really little on, I was either at the restaurant with dad or I was at the hotel with mom. And, I observed my mom and my dad in different departments of the world of hospitality. Obviously, my mom was in housekeeping. So she was all about, cleanness and detailed and, kindness and really understanding how to prepare the rooms for the guests. And, she was working very closely with the reception, which gave me another look on another department of the hotel where really how the departments really have to have good communication amongst each other to really make sure that every room is prepared in the way each individual guest likes it. And then with dad, it was so interesting because through him, I really learned early on how important it really is that consistency is a huge role in hospitality, right? Like you cannot have a dish prepared even when your staff changes in a different way because your guests are getting so used to either the people that serve them or the dishes that they consume or the cocktails that they drink or certain ways. It'd be the same way if you have a restaurant and all of a sudden you completely change the interior design and somebody walks back in and they're like, well, where's my table? I always sit in this corner. Like, I love this booth, or I love the fact that I'm sitting so close to the door, or whatever it might be, right? And so with dad, I learned very early on to very fundamental principles of the world of hospitality, like really when it comes to business, what to do and what not to do. But then also, how to really maintain of really always the same dish going out the same way, even though 10 different people prepare it maybe behind the scenes, but you as the guest would never notice because that's
Right.
really important. That's recognition factor from, our staff to our guests is really important. But then also the recognition factor, the dishes that we consume as guests is really big too, because sometimes we seriously only go back for that one specific dish.
That's very
And
true.
or for that one specific waiter, that was just so kind, or she was just so kind, and we had such a great evening. And so that's kind of like where all it started for me. And then when I was old enough, I almost really never thought about what I will be or what I will do in my life. It was kind of like an automatic execution of like, I'm going to be in hospitality. I will obviously gain my degrees and then I'll just maybe go and explore the world. And so that's
Yeah.
basically what happened, and, for a long time, I want to be very honest, when I would have interviews with people, me trying to be in a different position, because, in the hospitality industry, it's very known that when you want to climb up the ladder, you want to have good things, good homes on your resume. But then you also want to have different positions on there that really qualify you to speak on certain things and to be really understanding of every department. And so that's exactly what I did. And, sometimes I would run across people that would ask me, well, can't you just keep a job? It seems like you're hopping a lot. Every year and a half, every 2 years, you're somewhere else. And I'm like, and at the beginning, I didn't know in my 20s, I didn't know how to take that because I thought maybe there's something wrong with me because
Right.
I'm like, maybe it is me. Because, another truth fact, back in the days, my attitude was not the same way as it is now, right? 100 years later.
Right.
And so I was really, debating in my internal self. I'm like, well, maybe, oh my God, maybe I do need to change, or maybe something has to, whatever. But so come to find out that actually that part of me that traveled so much and changed, homes and really worked for upscale hotels only turned out to be the most best thing that I've ever chosen to do in my life because it gave me such a fantastic platform of really understanding what true hospitality is from different cultures and different countries and different homes that all have their own standards and rules. And so by me creating my own company, I had the privilege of really taking every rule where I saw was amazing and now incorporate that in my own business and teach it the way I think. Every home had their really amazing things, but they also had kind of like things where I'm like, I don't know if I like that. And so now I was able to, create a plan where it's like everything that I really saw that can really work and was beneficial to people, to guests, to staff, but also to upper mid management is now something that I can share. And so that's in a
I
nutshell how
love
I
it.
really started. I lived in 7 different countries. The fact that I
Mhm.
speak 4 languages was always something really cool just because it helps me to connect with other people on a different note.
Mhm.
Because when
Right.
you connect with another person on their own native tongue, it's just really that
Mhm.
feeling that you feel as a guest and you as their server or as the person that is executing some service to them is you just feel that different kind of energy bond. And
Yeah.
so it's just another welcoming tool that I'm so privileged that I had given by my parents because my dad was Hungarian, my mom was Serbian, but I was
Mhm.
born and raised in Germany. So I had these 3 cultures ingrained in me. And, later on in life, it was wonderful and then I learned English in school, obviously. And so, you know, those languages play a big role in my life, and they play a big role in my business too. So, yeah.
Love that. I was just going to ask you, I was just going to ask what languages. So Hungarian,
Mhm.
Serbian, German, and English. Wow.
That's
That was
right.
great. That
Yeah.
was great. And I bet there's some crossovers where you could probably understand certain other languages, right? A little bit. Has that helped you in other countries too?
Yeah, it
Understanding?
did. I mean, there's crossovers for sure. Because, if you, for instance, speak Italian or Spanish, it's really easy for you to pick up on one or the other language. They're very similar to each other.
Right.
But
Right.
also, in the world of hospitality, sometimes you just pick up with, it really depends for what restaurant idea you work for. Like, let's say, when I worked for a lot of upscale Italian restaurants. And so there
Right.
was a part of my life, where I learned Italian words that we use in hospitality to communicate with the busboys or to communicate with the food runners just to make it quicker. And obviously, we
Yes.
would have a lot of Italian guests too. So, I would make it a habit to really learn some phrases that kind of, again, give me the baseline of connecting with the guests, but also
Mhm.
because Italian is literally my most favorite language that is out there. I am obsessed with the language.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, I love
And
that. I love
so,
hearing that.
is it that
Yeah.
I can hold a conversation? No, but I mean, is it some phrases that I do understand that I know how to make you feel welcome when I say that in the world of
Right.
hospitality? Yeah, so it's
Right. And
it's always
isn't
so cool.
prego the only Italian I know is prego. Is prego welcome,
Prego.
right?
Yeah, prego.
Prego.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
love it.
grazie is
Yeah.
like thank you.
Yeah. What is like thank you?
Gra- Grazie.
Oh, yes. Yes. I love that.
Mhm.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, you were saying you, worked at many luxurious, locations, restaurants. What were some of them? Can you rattle off some can you name drop?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I collaborated with the Hilton, the Four Seasons, the Ritz Carlton, Intercontinental.
Yeah.
Fig and Olive was a great restaurant. Mar-a-Lago, for instance, was another location that I worked for a season. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, really good restaurants like Il Pastaio in Beverly Hills was another really great, fantastic restaurant. Ovest in Berlin is a really good restaurant too.
Wow.
And so there's several restaurants and several hotels that gave me baseline of really understanding what fine dining really means and
Love
how
it.
detailed it really is. And so, it's so interesting because when people tell me like, oh, I don't have a fine dining restaurant, I don't have a 5-star hotel, I can not hire you. And I'm like, this isn't about 5-star or
Right.
Michelin stars or anything. This is about you wanting to provide your guests like a really good service. And you don't have to have white tablecloth or consider yourself a fine dining restaurant in order for your staff to really provide good service to your guests. It's really about just
Yeah.
being detail oriented and understanding how kindness on the floor really works and really
Right.
understanding that you are at the end a servant, and I know this word sounds so, I don't even know if this is politically correct to say, but you are serving a need,
Yeah.
right? Which is the guest in
Mhm.
this moment that either needs water or needs a menu or needs attention or their
Mhm.
dog need attention or their children need something to be occupied at the table or they're not happy with something or
Right.
there's something that they need attentiveness towards too, right? And same with the hotel
Right.
aspect of it.
Right.
And so that really is hospitality. It doesn't matter if the hotel where you enter has a name or a reputation. It really
Right.
doesn't matter like that. And, I feel like we came to a place in this current industry where unfortunately it almost became like that, that if you don't pay an X amount of money or you don't check into a hotel with a previous really good reputation, you're not even allowed to have any expectation as a guest. And so
Yeah, and that
this is
shouldn't be, and
something.
that's where my angst, and that's why I said at the beginning that America needs to to listen to you, because that's exactly how I feel. I go into so many
Mhm.
restaurants. Yes, they're not five-star like you were saying, but they're
Right.
still excellent restaurants, and you're ignored. You're made to feel like second-class citizen, like
Yeah.
it's awful. It is actually
Yeah.
awful, and you're almost made to feel like you're doing them a favor coming to their restaurant, and it's the other way
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And so,
It
yeah,
became
I
it
think
became very transactional. It became very
yes. Yes.
transactional, and it
Yes.
became very aloof, kind of like, oh yeah, oh, you entered my establishment. I'm not even going to take the time to say hello. Excuse
Yes.
me? What do you mean?
Yes. And
Or like the explanation fact of it, if I'm, for instance, having some food allergies or something, the fact that I really have to bring that out to the table, which I'm not saying is necessarily a wrong thing to do, because obviously every human inside of them knows their body the best. And of course, they know how to express what is going on with allergies or, food restrictions better than
right,
anybody. But I think it's still an act of kindness from every person that they interact with to be asked if there maybe
yeah,
are some food dietary restrictions. Is there maybe any
right,
allergies that we can watch out for? Because, sometimes you just
right.
simply forget because you had a full day and then, oh man, I didn't say I have an allergy against this. Oh my God, like life
Yeah,
happens. And so those are standard questions that should be just not made the guest feel like you have to say that, but those should
right,
be presented to you. Same way
right.
when you sit at a
Yeah.
restaurant, you don't need to, you as a guest, you don't need to be asking for more refill of iced tea or water or Coke or anything.
I
Like you should be offered from themselves, not having you to
yes.
remind them, oh, by the way, my cup is completely empty. Do you mind giving me more water? Like,
Exactly. That's what drives me nuts. They walk past 2 and 3 times, and it's been empty for a half an hour, That's what's so
yeah.
shocking all the time. Yeah.
But but really, I want to add to this very quick. Is it's most of the time, it's not that the staff members that do that, what you just said, that they walk by 3 times and they ignore it. It's not because they're rude people or they would not bring it to you. It's simply
Right.
that they're not being trained to be attentive towards those things, to look for those things, what is
Yes.
actually really happening on the floor, and how to manage correctly their stations,
Yes.
because every station on the floor is broken down in stations. And so, at least a halfway good managed restaurant, let's just say,
Right.
and so and every waiter on that floor has their own little section with so and so many tables. Now, you as the manager who runs that floor, if you happen to have a manager on your floor, because I understand budgets are really tight too, and I understand and I have solutions for that too. But if your manager, is really in control of the entire floor, and you have a really good host that really understands that aspect of running a floor too, it's really easy to understand who of your waiters can handle and who of your waiters cannot handle many
Right.
tables where those kind of things will not be ignored. You know what I mean? Because
Right. Yeah.
what we make as a mistake in this industry, especially if we are waiters, hostesses, cocktail waitresses, bartenders, sometimes we feel I got to have so many tables to make so much money, right? Because the more tables I have, the more checks I will have and the more tips I will get, right? Like that's like the normal
Right.
thinking. And it's not wrong.
Right.
But
Right.
what is
Right.
wrong is to assume that you have to have as many tables in order to make money, which you really don't. Because I tell
Right.
you one secret, when I used to be a waiter and I used to be an excellent waiter, I would get sometimes tables from my upper mid management on purpose. rudest section in the entire restaurant. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And even
Yeah.
there, I would make enough money or even more money than all others on the floor because I understood the art of selling and I understood the art of connecting with people and combining those two from an emotional point of view, but also from a selling point of view. Right. And
Right.
so once
Right.
you understand how that really works, then it really doesn't matter who put you in what section, how many tables you have, because you get to sell to the tables that you
Right.
serve. And I'm not saying it's all
Right.
the time like that, because trust me, there was times in my serving career too when I walked away with really little tips. And I'm like, well, this was a
Right.
bad day, but it's just part of the game, like it just,
Right.
sometimes it just comes with it.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense, and I'm just thinking, that what you said, how they're not bad people. They may just not have
Mm,
been trained well, and they not that they
yeah.
don't want to help. And that's exactly how my husband and I look at it. They clearly haven't been trained well, but then I
Mm,
started thinking that we definitely don't want to come back to this establishment if the managers aren't training their staff well. What else is going on in the kitchen that may not be trained well? So my
right.
brain as a business owner starts thinking all of that too. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, how do we get the word out about what you do? Like, would it be appropriate if I were at a restaurant that I loved, for example, and I love their food, but I can see some things that are lacking as a
Hmm.
patron? Would it be insulting that I say, you really could use some help? Would I ask for a manager and recommend they see somebody like you? What should I do?
Yeah, I think we really got to a point in the stage of global living where we all are that authenticity really is big, right? Like you see
Okay.
people all
Yeah.
of a sudden that really for years didn't speak up, always kept quiet, always, didn't really say much. Now you see those people really rise up and really speak truth, what they feel inside. And I also feel like that a lot of people are now more receptive to that because we're in that change of like we don't want the cookie cutter, everything is okay and let's just pretend if it's okay. We're really rising up to a place where it's like this, I don't like that and I'm going to say it in a calm, respectful way, but I will speak
Yeah.
that I didn't like it and here's what I didn't like about it. Now, if the person
Right.
who we're speaking to is ready to receive, then that's great. And
Right.
we will run into people that are not, and then that's okay too. But my
Yeah.
suggestion is absolutely that when guests are dining somewhere or checking into any hotel or at a casino or a resort, a cruise, a private jet, anywhere where they really interact and receive any kind of service and they did not like it and they feel they got shortened by the amount that they have to pay to even have such service, it's always a
Right.
good thing to say, like, you look, I really enjoyed this and this and this, and I love your ambiance and
Right.
I love the lighting and I love your music or whatever you really truly love. But this
Right.
really, you fell short here. And if ever, you think maybe this is something you can consider and you're more than welcome to, give them
Yeah.
my website or my email or anything. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not here to shame anybody. I'm not here to
No.
down talk anybody because we all started our establishments because we had a dream. And so
Right.
I am the girl that wants to remind those people on that dream. But when we get so busy building a business, we are sometimes forgetting to live life and we sometimes forget why we actually started. And then once in a while, somebody like me comes along and just reminds them on like, hey, remember when you drew your business plans and what feeling you felt when you're like, oh my God, I'm over, or like, and so
Yeah.
that's kind of like the feeling I'm really wanting to bring back to the owner, to the investor, to the
Yeah.
manager, because they started in this industry for a purpose, for a reason,
Right.
and whatever that
Right.
reason might be. And so I think when I would enter, I always look at so many things that already are working. And I'm just really there to help polish them a little bit in a different way where, their staff feels like I don't necessarily have to have 3 jobs to survive because we have enough
Right.
clients coming in, we have enough guests coming in. And then,
Right.
also the employer that gives these jobs feels like that they or she or whoever is being respected on giving this to their staff. So it
Right.
respect goes both ways, right? Like, I mean, I cannot
Right.
expect my staff to show up on time and to do the most for me when I don't even have any kind of connection to them, or when I never come out of my way to make things work for them too, and ignoring that they're here every day building my dream instead of their
Yes.
own.
Right. It's
That
so
really
true.
deserves respect and acknowledgement and kindness on daily basis, right? But I also
Right.
cannot expect staff to have the attitude of like, okay, well, if I break a glass, so what? Oh, I lost my apron. Oh, I didn't bring my wine key. Or I don't know the menu. I have no idea. What wines by the what?
Oh,
I don't know. So it goes both ways,
yeah.
right? It has to be like a
Right.
respectful give and take, because if you are working in my home, I will have expectations on you. And that's not because I'm strict. That's because I'm running a business, right?
Right.
But
Right.
if you are,
Absolutely.
right, but if you do what you're supposed to do and you follow the request that I have, and you clearly say that you can meet these respects, because we're going to have a clear, open, authentic conversation in our interview process, and you say that you can, fill these requests, and I can fill yours because you tell me maybe you're a single mom and I need every Thursday off, and we find an
Mhm.
agreement, then that's just what it
Right.
is, right? But like to
Right.
categorize everything and to be like, oh, we need this all the time from you, but no, we're not going to come your way at all. I don't know. I think those times are over. It's really about
Right.
reciprocity, and it's really about people understanding that people matter. Everybody
Yes.
matters. Every
Yeah.
person and every situation that they're going through is as equally bad, worse, good, amazing as anybody else's. Like we're not no different,
Right.
you know?
Right. Right. I agree with you 100%. Yes. Yeah. And gosh, I just want everyone to know about you. I want more and more people to take advantage of what I can tell what you're talking about. Just hearing you, talk about the wine key, just the
Right.
thing. I can tell you've lived in this industry, and
Yeah.
it's so cool. Now, this is an interesting question, I think.
Mhm.
What do you see as the difference between a European experience in hospitality as in the United States? Because I see huge differences. But
Mhm.
what are a couple, maybe give us three things you could pinpoint that you would really want to hone in on in the United States to fix? Do you have like three, or is
Well,
that
I
too many,
think
too little?
No, I think, and I just want to say this prior, nothing is better here or there. There's always
Right.
amazing things in this place, and there's always amazing things in this place, and there's not so good things in here, and there's not so good things in there
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but for
But,
the most
you
part,
know,
I feel like they've got it figured out anyway,
no,
sorry, but yeah.
no, it's, I mean, I think like this is really individual, from really every restaurant owner, every hotel owner. It's really individual. Do they have any history in hospitality? Do their parents come from
Mm,
hospitality? Did they
right,
learn the craft of hospitality, or did they just stumble in? That's really a big part of so many
right,
things, right? But, if I
right.
would have to point fingers, it's like product knowledge is big in general. Like if you don't know your product as a waiter or as a person that works
Mm,
either at a hotel or a restaurant, that's a problem, right? And what do I mean by product is really the menu items that you serve, the
right,
ingredients that are inside a sauce, a salad dressing, inside a salad, inside a dish. Those are your products that you really need to understand and know, because that's the best way for you to sell them. So if you don't
right,
know about wine and you don't know what wine tastes what way, what pairs good with what food or with what
right,
dish, or how to even decant wine, or how to even talk about wine if you've never had any interactions with wine, then that's a missing product part that you don't have. And when you then
right,
don't have a manager or somebody in your team that can educate you on how to serve wine, how to open up a wine bottle, how to decant a wine bottle, how to do proper champagne service, because listen, there's wines and champagnes are really expensive. Not all,
yes,
but and
yes,
so the guest that is ordering such beverage, understands the value of it, and they don't care that the bottle costs $1,000. What they care about is how it's being presented and how it's being served to them, and what the
Mhm.
feeling they receive when they're enjoying that nice glass of wine. That's what
Yes.
this is really about, right? And so
Right.
product knowledge is definitely one thing that is big. And I
Love
think
that.
attentiveness is really big too. Like just really understanding how to be really attentive by nature to the smallest details. Like a lady enters a restaurant and we're pull up her chair, and we do that for every single person. That's just one attentiveness. If you have a host at the door and the door is closed, have your host go and open the door to every single person. Hello,
Ooh,
and
that's
it's small
good. I
details.
don't see that a lot. I don't see
It's
that a lot. Yeah.
it's really,
Yeah.
or like you have ladies sitting and you have a table and there are just two people, there's two extra chairs. Pull up a chair for her purse right away before
Yes,
they sit down.
yes, I
Pull up,
love that.
pull up the chair for her purse. And again, this doesn't have to be a fine dining restaurant. This could also just be a
No.
sports bar or a very casual burger joint or a mom and
Yeah.
pop's pancake. But it's a nice gesture. In
Yeah.
general, it doesn't cost you anything extra. Your server is already there. Just tell them to
That would
start
make me wanna
implementing
go
these,
back. Yeah, that
right?
would make me wanna go back again and again, like, I would remember that. Even the like you said, a pub, I would go, "Let's go there, they really catered to me." But it's
I
true,
tell you, and I'm just going to say one more example, and then I will move on to the last part. But like one
Mhm.
example, I was at a really, really, really beautiful hotel in London, and what they did is it was cold outside, and what they did, they took a coat before they brought you the coat. They took the coat and heated up by the fireplace so that when you go inside the coat, that you're really warm walking out. Now,
Wow.
I understand that those requests are very outrageous and they might be unrealistic. All I'm after with this example is the attentiveness that could be translated in
Mhm.
smaller ways, like just simply pulling up a chair for somebody's
Mhm.
purse, right?
Right,
And so I
right.
think that's really big. If we train our staff to really pay attention to small details, like a small detail can also be in an appropriate way removing plates from the table. If
Yes.
anything, that's my biggest pet peeve. If I see waiters just
Yeah.
stacking everything and then walking away like that, or those bins that they have, like honestly, that's
Oh,
something I just cannot. And it doesn't matter again what type of restaurant you have, it just doesn't look appealing to the eyes of
no.
others that are sitting around or on the patio or inside the restaurant having to witness this while they're eating their food. It's just not an
Yes,
appealing idea to do that. Right. And
absolutely,
so
I'm with
I
you.
think
Yeah.
yeah, and I think the last part is really just great, great, great communication. Having really good communication between your staff members and all of your departments. Like if you have a restaurant, it's really imperative that the waiters really understand how to properly, on the check, not by verbally, communicate to
Right.
the kitchen. Anything that
Mm,
they need, write it on the check. If there's maybe a misunderstanding, go speak to your manager, let the manager go speak to the kitchen, because what you don't want to do is don't want to just barge into the kitchen and interrupt, because they have their own flow. They have their own
right.
routine. They have their own stuff going on. Because trust, it's not easy to have 100 million tickets in front of you in rush
Mm,
hour for like 3 hours with like
yeah,
maybe four people to bang out. That's a lot of
yeah,
pressure. So
it
the
is.
last thing
Yeah,
those people need is some waiter coming in and yapping or complaining,
right.
but a good communication between the different outlets and the different departments, and also between staff and management. Like they have to have the allowance to speak, right? Either
Right.
in private or in a staff meeting, they cannot be fearful of voicing what it is that they need on the
Mm.
floor. And that could
Ooh,
be
that's good.
more attention from their upper management, more help, more tools, more trays, more napkins that they serve the guests, more silverware,
Right.
more espresso spoons, because they always seem to be missing in every restaurant I worked on this globe. Espresso spoons was
It's
one thing. I
true.
don't know how, but they're always disappear.
They are. Yeah, they're never there. They're never there. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's
But so
such a good
a good,
point.
a good
Yeah.
communication circle is really important, for you also to have like that. And you know that as a business owner, like the more
Right.
clear and really precise you are in your communicating ways with them, and the more you really clarify in really clear, kind of like, this is really what I'm needing from you, and this is kind of like my request, then can you handle this? Yes, you can.
Right.
Okay, great. Then this is really what I need moving forward from you. You know,
Yeah, I
not
love
being
that.
afraid of, if I address that, oh my God, will she leave me? I cannot run my business without this person. They have been 20 years here. I don't want to offend them, blah, blah. None of that should play
Right.
a role, because it's not
Right.
about, it's really about the guest at the end of the day.
Yes, it is. It is. And I'm going to ask you a couple deeper questions too, but I want to throw in something kind of quirky and funny, but is my pet peeve. And the quirky
Mhm.
funny thing is, what happened to when I, as the guest, say thank you so much, and what happened to say the server saying you're welcome or my pleasure? I personally like my
Right.
pleasure, but
Yeah.
why are they now saying no problem, or I think it's
Of
that I
course.
think that of course, of course, of course. And I'm like, of course what? What about thank you and my pleasure?
Mm-hmm.
That kills me. Like, why has that come up? And does that bother you too? I'm assuming it
So,
does.
to me, really, hospitality verbiage has to be aligned with what the concept of the establishment is, right?
Right.
So, I
Oh,
will give
right,
you an
right.
example. If there is, for instance, a sports bar, like a very very casual sports where we can go into flip flops and we just come from the beach and we just want to grab a cool ice cold beer at the bar and have some cool nice tasty wings. If it's an establishment like that, the verbiage obviously can be a little bit more casual
Yeah.
versus in an
Right.
establishment where we enter, like, really we are already nicely dressed because we're going to go to the piano bar. There's going to be a live
Right.
piano player, and we're going to have a glass of champagne, and we're going to have valet our car, and you know what I mean, like the verbiage
Right.
can be a little bit differently in each establishment. But
Right.
so it has to be, again, trained of what the concept really is. Because I don't think any guest would be offended if in a sports bar or in a very casual place, somebody says, yeah, no problem, man. Okay, mate. See you later.
Yes,
Like a surf
exactly.
bar
That's true. Right.
or like a beach bar. Nobody
Right.
is going to take offense to that if the response will be, oh, no problem, mate,
Yeah.
for instance.
Right. But
But
it's the
if you
nicer
say that.
restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you use this type of same verbiage in a really restaurant where you possibly have a dress code to even get in, or like I said, you have all these extra elements, then the
Right.
expectation would not necessarily to hear that. The expectation would be more of a hello and welcome and hello and good evening,
Mhm.
and even better to take it to the next level. As soon as you drop your name, because you put your name down for the reservation, either when you
Right.
called or when you made it online. So whoever checks you and the host has your name. Now
Yes.
imagine that name travels right away to the waiter, even though you've never seen the waiter. You're just being brought to your table. But now you sit at the table and the waiter approaches you and says, hello, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Downey. How are you? And you're like,
Yes. Yes.
hello, right? And what happened here? Nothing happened that cost me any extra money as an owner.
Right.
I didn't spend any extra anything except for I changed my procedure.
Right. Right.
That's all.
Yes. Yes, and I have to say, that, the montage in Laguna Beach, if you've been there, my husband and
Mhm.
I stayed there for 5 days, just did a little getaway, and they've got it right. They called us Mr. and Mrs. Downey from the minute we walked in. In fact, we felt like there must be cameras or something around, because we literally would check in, "Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Downey." Then we went
Mhm.
to get something to eat, and when we walked we didn't even have a reservation. We were just walking in, and we think they must put photos of the guests somewhere in their employee meeting, because everybody at that resort, "Mr. and Mrs. Downey, how's your stay been so far?" And we were like, we felt so
Mhm.
special. Clearly, they've
Mhm.
got it right. Is that something
Mhm.
people do? Do they sometimes take pictures so they tell the whole staff you got to know who these people are, or no? Or is that like
It's
our
not
brain was
any,
thinking?
any anything is possible, but I think what really happened here is just really proper, good communication between all different departments, right? Because you have
Okay.
lists at the end of the day. Every housekeeping department gets a whole list of whose guest is in what room, because they need to know when to clean, when to check in, when to check out, when to do a
Right.
cleanup, when to bring new towels, when to do all of those things. And the same list can travel around the entire hotel premises. So that list
Wow.
can also be sent over to the hotel pool bar, or to the
Yes.
tennis courts, or to the
Yes.
concierge, or you know what I
Right.
mean? And so it's really just a really good show of great, fantastic internal staff communication from the top down to every single member, because they
Yes.
know who is in house for that day. All they have to do is
Right.
just print out the list of who is in our home today, what guest is where. And
Right.
and you need people with good memories too, like the people that really do want to remember. It's the same thing when you go to a bar and the bartender already knows your drink, but you haven't been there for
Mm.
3 weeks, but he remembered
Right.
the drink that you had the last time, and he comes up to you and says, hi Vicky, would you like to have and then he says the drink that you had last time. That's
Right.
not because
I
this
love
person's
that
a
too.
genius, but the person
Yeah.
took the time because it matters to them, because he or she wants to reconnect with his guest and her
Yeah.
guest, and they understand the core of
Yeah.
hospitality. Now, either they
Yes.
figured that out for themselves, or it has been taught to them that way.
Right, right. Yeah, so that's a great segue. I love that, and we should get the montage to sponsor our our podcast, because we just gave them
Yes,
that big shout out. But,
yeah.
this is a perfect segue to start asking you a couple questions
Hmm.
about, what if somebody hired you, what is one of the first things that you bring to the table that you would go over with them? Say it's a restaurant. Let's just say a restaurant hires you. What is something that owner would first notice is happening with his staff or what have you?
So it really depends what the outgoing issue is with the
Oh,
restaurant. Like, is it because we're not getting enough revenue through our staff? Because really, our staff is really our money making bank, in a sense, if you want to call it like that, all bluntly. I mean, if our waiters don't know how to sell, then that's a
yeah,
problem, right? Because I mean,
right,
those are the people that need to sell our products on the floor and understand the menu and understand the wine list and all of that in order to bring it to the guest. And
right,
so I think it really depends what issue lays in what type of staff, because it's not always that issue, but that's always certainly a part. Because, whenever I ask, are you happy with your revenue? I hardly ever heard, I'm great. I don't need more money. I'm fine.
mm, right, right. I love
Never
that.
had that
So,
happen.
yeah. So part
And
of
so,
your initial
mhm.
conversation with the restaurant would be you're going to talk to them about what they're looking for. Sounds like, right? Yeah.
I mean, in
Yeah.
all honesty, I can already tell by myself, because what I like to do is I go out so often for lunches and dinners and all of that. So I'm a complete observer the entire time. But once I'm really connecting with an owner or with a manager that is ready, kind of like to make some changes, I always go first to the restaurant and have like a dinner or a lunch or something without the staff even knowing who I am. Like, I don't want to
That's
be
smart.
right away introduced. I would like to go, I usually like to go and have like a dinner or have like a lunch, take a
Mhm.
girlfriend, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
just to really
like a
see
secret
what's
shopper.
happening.
We call it kind of a
Kind
secret
of.
shopper, yeah, where they
Yeah,
don't know.
just
I love that.
right.
Yeah.
And so for me, and it doesn't even have to be a long out drawn dinner. It could also be literally just a quick little coffee. Like, I can see things
Right,
very fast of where
right,
I'm thinking. And then, I like to throw in branches. I like to ask questions that should be standard for me for them to know, like, what is your soup of the day? What is it made out? If it is it vegan based? Is it what, little
yes,
things for me to see already, like where they're standing. And some waiters are excellent and some are like, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I will come back to you. I will give you the answer, And so that already shows me that whatever revenue this specific person is producing obviously is not cutting it. Not again because they couldn't do it. It's because they don't have enough knowledge just yet.
right,
And
right.
so I think that's big, like really, because
Mhm.
it's very unique. It's very customized. Not every restaurant has the same issue. Not every hotel has the same issue. But in general, I feel like pumping up everybody's revenue and really polishing everybody's staff on just providing and executing hospitality services to their guests can never
I
be
love it.
wrong, because there were so many things. It's the verbiage, it's the body language, it's the
Yeah.
observation of guests, it's the product knowledge, it's the upscaling techniques that people don't necessarily have. It's the talking about the wine. If they don't have any clue about wine, how is this person supposed to sell a really expensive bottle of wine? They have
Right.
no
Right.
idea what wine, but they
Right.
can.
Right.
It's absolutely possible. And
Right.
or
And
it's like
do
the
you recommend?
cuisine.
Sorry. I was going to say, do you recommend teaching your set or is it customary that a restaurant, since I'm a novice, I don't know this, would teach the staff about the different wines? Do they have a class for that?
Some do and some don't. Some just say,
Mm.
these are the glasses by the wine that we have, memorize them and just know them by heart. Sometimes
Mm.
that's one way. Sometimes, I worked in places where honestly it was mandatory for you having to try every single thing on that menu for you to really have your own personal opinion about it, in order then to authentically speak to a guest and say, look, this is how it tasted to me. It was not my favorite. My favorite is this. But
I like
if you
that. Yeah.
if it's
Yes.
ordered a lot, it's not a bad thing to say, but a lot of our guests really love it. But me personally, my favorite is more this. And it's completely okay to be authentic instead of wanting to make the sale, because again, it's
Right.
about connection. A guest will
Right.
remember that much more. They will remember not what you're selling them. They will
Right.
remember how you made them feel. That's a
Yes.
fact.
It is. It is. I just think of our personal experience. Yeah. My husband and I will walk away and we'll talk about that as we're walking to the car. I really loved how when I asked what his favorite dish was, he told me. And then I ordered. I really love that confidence. And it was good. Yeah. We
And
always
now
talk about that.
imagine, right. And now imagine whoever's expressing that has the proper language to actually paint you visually a picture of how that dish really tastes, right?
Ooh,
Now
yes.
we're talking. Now we're going into upselling techniques, because now that's the time for the waiter really to hone in and be like, without
Yeah.
even a menu. Like, I mean, I know I worked at places where I never used a menu, presenting a menu to a guest ever,
Right. Right.
because
Yeah.
I knew
Wow.
everything that we had. And I just, from face to face, how do you feel tonight? More heavy, more lighter? Are you hungry? More lighter today, more
Ooh,
pasta, more salad, more meat, more veggies?
I love
What's
that.
kind of like your taste? And then we went from there. Oh, actually,
Right.
I was thinking a salad, but now that you mentioned, nice fresh veggies, what do you have? Boom.
Love that. Love
We'll
that.
make
Ah,
it for
you're
you.
making me
We'll
wanna
do
go
it the
to a
way you
nice
need it,
restaurant. Yeah.
Right. And so
I love it.
you gotta understand that this is really, I mean, we're talking food, we're talking amazing wine, we're talking cocktails, we're talking ambience, we're talking laughing and fun and cheersing and being happy, in a sense, forgetting what we have going on. And so when we have staff that are not only waiters, but they are entertainers at the end of the day. At the end of the day, every staff on this floor is an entertainer, to
Yes.
come to you to the table, to make you feel welcome, to make you feel like whatever happened today, I will make it better for you, because now I'm your
Yeah.
waiter. I will be taking care of you this evening, and you will have the most amazing time where you don't have to ask for anything,
I love
you
it.
know?
You've already
And
painted the
so,
picture for me that I wanna hire you. You're painting the picture, and I don't even own a restaurant. That is awesome.
yeah.
I love it.
So that's really important. When
Um,
people ask me, well, what can you do so different? What difference can you make versus me having a manager, right? And I
yes.
had this a lot. People asking me. I mean, listen,
Right.
if you have a manager that is fully on point and that has the revenue part down and that has the being personal thing down with your staff and that drives revenue and is fantastic and solving problems fast, probably you don't need me. In all honesty, you don't.
Right.
But if you
Right.
don't have that, right, I can bring
Yeah.
to the table, I'm not in your emotional bubble. I'm not part of your daily routine. I'm somebody that comes in with a fresh pair of eyes, with a fresh breath of air, with an opinion that probably you never considered or have not heard before because your own staff members are maybe not wanting to voice that because, again, we're still in that transitional breaking phase of wanting to step and speak truth, but we're still holding back of like, well, if I say that, will I get into trouble?
Yeah.
You
Right.
know? And so those are the things that are make me a little bit different because I'm an outsider looking into your glass home. I'm not part of the glass home. And since I
Right.
really know hospitality and I see what can really be benefiting when we would polish certain things, I think nobody in your team will even get the idea of being threatened too, because it's one thing if somebody just steps into your establishment and just really stays there for a moment and then leaves versus a manager constantly being on you to the point where it's
Yes.
being either micromanaging or it's being rudely delivered or it's being bullied or whatever. Because I experienced all of that in my career at one point myself. So I
Right.
know how challenging sometimes it could be to really have one manager and have all the things on that one manager on their shoulders. They have to take care of it all. And it's a lot of responsibility, so it's
Right.
it's it's helping everybody in your team to have an outside force like myself come in to just take a load off, collaborate, come up with fresh ideas, brainstorm, just polish the whole thing from another perspective and just bring in a little bit more of a different type of magic than what you already have, and I'm not there
Right.
to change your home. I'm not there to change your dream. I'm just there to remind you and just there
I
to
love it.
help you carry the load a little.
I love it. I love it. I think we have time for one last question. And that is after somebody hires you, and because I'm just
Mhm.
trying to think of as a business owner, and you've given us great tips how to increase revenue, how to drive this, how to get better at the hospitality portion. Um, do you stay on board with that restaurant or hotel, kind of as a consultant for a time, or is it just kind of like, okay, there you go,
Yeah,
work on it?
no, it's exactly the opposite. So I really love to. So once my trainings are observed and executed, I usually always stay side by side with the team, physically side by
I
side by the team. And then it depends, where
love
is
it.
the team at? Is it in my backyard? It's no problem. I will be side by side. Are you in
Right,
Florida? Are you in Arizona? Are you in Ohio? Where are you? It doesn't matter. I mean, I can fly anywhere. There's planes, they go everywhere every day. But I would prefer to stay side by side just because, when you have that energy interaction with the team and you build that real bond with them, they feel more secure when somebody is shadowing them for 2, 3, 4 days after the training is observed. Because we got to remember, just by speaking one time on a topic to somebody, and this could mean for any industry, does not
right,
mean that they understood it right away, ready to execute. They maybe
right,
understood it
right,
logically and logistically in their mind, and it makes sense and they understand. Yes. But if they've never done that execution on the floor, then they're going to be like, oh, wait, what did she say? When is this happening? What is this process? When is this procedure? Like it's a lot, right? In
it's a
training.
lot.
Right.
Right,
And so
right,
me being on the floor with them and helping them and shadowing them and barging in, of course, in a very calm and friendly and kind way, and just helping them
right,
out when it's really needed is something that
right,
makes them really feel secure to then be like, okay, she was standing next to me when I opened my first bottle of wine or this really expensive wine that I needed to decant or like debone a fish or whatever it might be. Right. And those are just
right.
really high examples. It could be other things, but staying staying with them for a few days, I think it's I don't know why anybody else not does it that way, because just you dropping your knowledge and you dropping your training and then just removing yourself, I don't know if that's beneficial.
Yeah. I think what you do, it takes learning from here to here, right? Because you're staying on, reinforcing what you trained on. And like you said,
Yeah.
shadowing them, helping them, adjusting when they need adjustment in a kind way. That's just brilliant to me.
Right.
That makes total sense. Yeah. Well,
Mm.
gosh, this has been Amazing. I could talk to you forever on this subject. I just find it fascinating and a real need in the marketplace for it. So tell us, Žana, how do people get in touch with you? I know we're going to put it in the show notes, but how would somebody book a call if that's something you do, or how would they get in touch?
Yeah, totally. They can book a call with me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. You can go on my website. You can call Vikki.
That's right. And it's JanaDeVineHospitality.com. Is that your
That's right.
website? Perfect.
hmm Yeah.
Perfect. And we're going to have
And
all of
then,
that
yeah,
in the
and I
show
know that my
notes. Yeah.
name, and I know that my name is very unique. So my parents thought they were going to be very fancy when they created my name. So I know that Žana is spelled Zana and then Divine Hospitality, or it also can just be ZD Hospitality. That's probably the easiest way to find me.
Love it. Love it. Well,
hmm
thank you so much. Thank you. I'm going to go out to eat with you and see if we notice the same things. I'm sure you'll notice way more, but
Yes, I
but
would love that.
that would be fun. We'll have to schedule that.
Yeah, I so
Well, thank
appreciate
you.
being your guest. I'm so grateful, and I'm very appreciative of you for you to open your doors for me. I'm very, very grateful.
Oh, and we've enjoyed having you on Dig the Well. So if you love this episode, please make sure to review it. Give us 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, leave a comment. We love to hear from you. And we hope you all have a fantastic day and get some fine dining in. And we'll see you at the next restaurant. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining us on Dig the Well.
We hope you feel empowered and ready to take on new challenges.
Remember, if we can do it, so can you. Keep learning, keep believing, and going after your dreams.
And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who needs a little inspiration or maybe a nudge in the right direction.
Help us grow this community of go-getters. Together, we can achieve greatness and get back to family.
Thanks for listening, and let's keep digging the well.